Hey, what's going on, Passport Bros? This is Ra Haru New Nefer with another exciting video for you. In this video, we're going to be talking about the art of rejection. So sit back, get ready. Now, I want you to hit that like button. And if this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. So let's get into this right away. And this will be a short video, so we'll get right to the point here. Now, a lot of people who are doing so-called game or who want to talk to a woman have what we call as approach anxiety. They're afraid to go up there, afraid to say hi, afraid to start this conversation. Now, this anxiety is really kind of like hardwired into you because we are social creatures, but it comes really from way back when in primitive times when we were in clans or tribes. And if you did something wrong, you could be excommunicated from the tribe. And by doing so, meant death because you had no support system. You were a lone wolf and the chances of you surviving were low. So we evolved to kind of like stay in the pack and go along with the group mindset. So going out of the group mindset, meaning going out of that comfort zone and approaching a woman, is going to give you some anxiety. All right. But I want you to know something. When I did my first cold approach, the guys who I were with, they were too afraid to do it, but I did it. And although I got rejected and they laughed, it set the stage for the rest of my life. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, for the rest of my life, I was the alpha male. I was the one that had the guts and the balls to go out there and do different things. I remember when I was in this is Cobra Kai. Hey, when I was in my martial arts class and we had a fifth degree black belt there. Everybody was afraid of him, you know. And I was sitting there, and he looked at me and he was like, "Rob, do you want to spar?" And I was like, "Sure, sensei." And I knew I was going to get my butt kicked. In fact, prior to him asking me, he had asked another student, and we were the same rank, brown belts. And the other student declined and said, "No, I don't want to spar," you know? So I said yes. And I got up there, I stood up, and we had sparred for like 1 minute, and he did like a spinning back kick, hit me in the head, and literally knocked me out cold. And I got up, and I was a bit dizzy, but I was okay. I was all right. But he pulled me to the side that day, and he told me, "You know what? I got a lot of respect for you in what you just did." He said, "You knew that you couldn't beat me. You knew that the odds were against you, but you had the guts to try to stand toe to toe with me." He said, "That's a man." And those guys who laughed at me for doing the cold approach will never amount to much in their lives because they're going to always be part of the herd, you see, because we have evolved beyond our basic instincts. We have evolved beyond the mammalian and reptilian brain. It's the prefrontal lobe is now in control, meaning that we can suppress our emotions of fear, anxiety at will. So when you are going to approach that woman, I want you to know that you are doing something great. You are a warrior. All right. And it doesn't matter if she's receptive or she rejects you. What matters is that you had the guts to go up there and do it. And not many people have that. You know what I mean? I remember when I was first getting into this whole thing because I was so darn shy and timid. I would go out to a club and stand there the whole night trying to get the courage to go ask a woman to dance. And that happened for a couple of months. And then finally, I got the courage to do it. And she said yes, and we danced. And then from there, I didn't even ask. I got so proficient with it, I didn't ask the girl to dance. I just went up there and saw a girl I liked and grabbed her hand and pulled her out on the dance floor. I was a Mac at that point, you know what I mean? But let me key you in on something that's the most important thing here, all right? It's not whether you can't think about, because this will mess your mind up. This is what causes the approach anxiety. You can't think about, will she respond favorably? Won't she? Because I've seen it and heard of it too. That there's some women that will blow you out and embarrass you in front of her girlfriends, and those women are just low women, and you don't need to even be. Those are not the women you want anyway, and they won't be anything in their lives either, because that's very disrespectful. Because women don't understand that it takes a lot of courage for a guy to go up there and ask her to dance or to go up there and talk to her. It takes a lot of courage to do that. You know what I mean? Because in their world, all they have to do is stand there. That doesn't take any courage. They just have to stand there and look good and let the guys come to them. But I digress. Here's the thing that's the most important thing that I learned out of all of this. And this goes for world passport bros. This goes for those people who decide to stay here in the States and continue game, whatever. It's the same thing here and abroad. What is important is not so much, again, what happens after the approach. It's your attitude toward it. In other words, if you get rejected, embrace it. Is it going to hurt? Yes, it will. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes she'll be a very nice young lady and she'll talk to you, and then, it'll go nowhere. Other times she'll be like, excuse me, you think you're talking to me? You think you on my level that you can talk to me or whatever? You know what I mean? I'm just making something up. And then that could hurt. You know what I mean? Or she can just go ignore you and not say anything. That's the worst. I hate that, because that belittles you in a way. But the important thing is that you embrace it. Be stoic, as the Greeks say. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher. You have to understand that rejection is good for you. And if you're not getting rejected, you're not doing something right. I'm going to be honest with you. If you're starting out and you come I've heard some guys come back and say, I have never gotten rejected. I'm like, that's bull. That's bull. And you're not doing something right. You're probably paying these girls. I don't know what you're doing. Rejection is good for you. It shows you what you're doing wrong, and it builds a thick skin, because when you're building a thick skin, you become what? You become stoic. And you almost become like a mummy, emotionless, indifferent, and that's good. You become fearless, and you're able to approach girls in every situation, and that's what I trained myself to do. In the beginning, it was very difficult to approach girls who were sitting down, who were amongst their girlfriends, who were online at a grocery store. But I have taught myself to approach a girl, even if she's on the cell phone, I'll talk to her, because I want to be rejected. I want every form of rejection possible so that I can build that thick skin. And even after all these years of doing game and I get rejected, I still get hurt. It still hurts. But I allow that to build my character, to make me stronger. That which doesn't kill you make you stronger. You understand? So embrace the rejection. Thomas Edison failed a lot. I mean, a lot, in his attempt to invent the light bulb. And they asked him about that. They're like, Mr. Edison, you failed over 1,001 times. Can you comment on that? And he said, no, I found 1,001 ways how not to make a light bulb. So it's about your perspective on something. And let me tell you something, when you get rejected, it's not personal. The girl doesn't know you, so it's not personal. It's she's just rejecting your approach. And a lot of times you don't know what's going on in her world. She may have had a bad day or on a period or whatever. Um, so don't get too hung up and caught up in the rejection. But understand that it's going to happen. You can't avoid it. You cannot avoid it. There have been like supermodels that I have approached, and I just knew she was going to reject me hard. And she was so friendly and receptive. We went out. And then there are women who were, let's use numbers, say like a five. And she totally dissed me, rejected me. And I was like, what? Your fat self is rejecting me. You're lucky I'm talking to you, you know? So you just never ever know. I've seen girls walk down the street with the meanest, a mean mug, that mean mug on their face. And I go, hi. And they light up so unexpectedly, you know? Then I've seen girls who were smiling and it looked like everything was going for them. And I said hi, and they're like, get out of my way. Literally, I had a girl do that, just get out of my way, you know? And I was about to let loose on her, boy, but I had to get calm. The first thing you want to do is you want to breathe. Okay. Make sure you breathe, because when you get that bad rejection, you tend to hold your breath. So let the air out. And here's the trick that I use, that I teach in my classes. When you get a bad rejection, go on to the next girl immediately. Talk to another girl immediately, because the next girl, if she gives you a warm reception, it'll make up for that rejection. In fact, if I get a bad blowout the night, I don't leave the venue until I approach another girl and get a positive rejection, because your brain is going to work on the reward principle. Meaning, if you leave the night with a really harsh rejection, you're not going to want to go out the next night or the night after that, because your brain's going to remember the hard rejection, and it's all going to be a subconscious process. You probably won't even realize it's happening in the background. You just be saying, I don't feel like going out tonight, but that's your brain rationalizing based on the previous night. So what you want to do is don't leave the venue or where you're at until you've had a really positive interaction with a woman. All right. So when you get that hard blowout, that rejection, go on to the next girl rapidly. And if she rejects you, then go on to the next girl until you get a very positive reaction. And you will trust that you will, unless you're doing something really strange or really weird. But see, the thing is, with this is, often we call this calibration. You're going to calibrate to that which works, because typically, if you're getting a lot of hard rejections, that means you're doing something wrong, but that's okay. Eventually, your subconscious mind will pick up on the right things that you do, and it will it will it will basically adjust to that. So, for example, here's just a very crude example. Two girls are talking, and you walk up and you interrupt them. Well, they're going to give you a bad reaction. And you keep doing that with every two girls you see, you get a blowout. But the subconscious mind is going to realize eventually that if you wait for a lull in the conversation or a break in the conversation and then approach, you'll get a favorable reaction in that way. So you'll calibrate to that eventually. All right. But the thing is, rejection is your friend, because there is no way in the world to avoid it. You can reduce the probability by basically honing your game of getting so many rejections, but it's going to happen. You can't control people's behavior. And Marcus Aurelius says this. You can't control people's behavior, but what can you control? How you react to it. All right? So when you get that rejection, okay, you're hurt. Let it. And another thing, it used to be in the self-help community, when you got hurt by something, they would often say, ignore it, ignore it, ignore it. That's not good. And now we've come a long way in understanding how the subconscious mind works. Now we know that you don't ignore it. That makes that really creates you are suppressing an emotion and you're bottling it up and it's going to explode eventually in one shape or form or another. So the thing you're doing is recognize, I do feel hurt. You can even say that, I do feel hurt. She dissed me, but she didn't diss me as a person. It's not personal. It was my approach. And if you say that, it makes it feel a little bit better, not take it away completely. But remember, the trick is to just go from that one hard rejection to the next girl, and you till you get a favorable outcome, a favorable reception, and then you can leave that night on a high note, and then you'll be more likely to want to go out the next night. You know, I know a friend and I went out for 2 months straight to the Vegas clubs, and we got it was brutal. We were getting like it wasn't so much like hard rejections. We were just getting rejected for 2 months. It was either we're getting rejected or the girls keep asking us to buy them drinks. And we were like, what's going on? But that's the roll of the dice. It just happens that way. And then, as soon as my friend went home, he left because he's from another country. I went out and started getting great reactions. So you just never know, it's always different situations and different venues and, you know, different women, you know. But the main thing to keep in mind is you've got to tell yourself you're going to get rejected and it's going to hurt, but you'll move on. And with each rejection, you'll get better and better and better until you reduce the probability of getting rejected. Okay. So you have to think about it, the odds of that. Like you're playing the Vegas casino. What's the odds of me getting, what do you call it? I don't know how that works. Six eyes or whatever, So keep that in mind. Embrace rejection. And sometimes, like when I would get a really bad rejection or I didn't do something right and I knew better, like for example, I would have a girl approach me sometimes, and my head was like, I was all in my head thinking about something else, and she approached me, and I just started talking to her, and then suddenly she walks away, and I just realized, oh my God, because a woman will gain your attention by various different ways. They may approach you and ask you, oh, do you know where the women's bathroom is? That means they're interested in you. Not all the time. That's not a hard and fast rule. But if a woman is approaching you and she has a question or something, more likely than not, there is some level of interest there. And one time I was just so out of it, I was just like, oh yeah, yeah, and I gave her some directions. She was looking for directions. I gave her the directions, and I was like, duh, she didn't really want directions. She just wanted to talk to me. I was so mad at myself, but I used that to fuel my next engagement, my next set in which I talked to a woman. Now, for the passport bros, I want you to understand that one of the biggest things for you is going to be the barrier for you is going to be language. All right. And I really advise that before you go to Cuba, Dominican Republic, Colombia, Brazil, that you learn key words. You don't have to learn the entire language, but you're learning key words that can get you around. Like when I was in France, I learned how to order food, the food I want, because in France, a lot of meals have meat in it, and I'm a vegan. So I had to learn fast how to say no meat, just give me pasta with tomato sauce or beans, rice, I'll be happy, you know. So I learned to do that. At first, I had an interpreter as a friend. He was ordering for me, and then eventually I learned from him how to order on my own. So when you're going to these foreign countries, it's best to learn the basic stuff. Like I learned stuff like you're beautiful, I'm handsome, let's get together. I learned come up to my place, and I'm going to give you this little short story before I end. When I was in France, I was trying to game, right? And I was like trying to meet women, but I didn't know the hot spots. And my friend was gay, so he wasn't interested in meeting women. And I remember my last attempt, this is on my last night there, to try and talk to a woman. And him and I got into an argument, and he refused to translate. He refused to translate. And I was like so mad. So anyway, the woman walked away. So as we were walking back to our apartment, because we had rented an apartment, I was so mad at him. We weren't talking. And I was like, please, please, just give me another opportunity because this is my last night. Just give me another opportunity, God. And lo and behold, we walk into our apartment, and sitting at the stairway were two girls, beautiful, just chilling. And I was like, whoa. So I said, yo, Steve, you better translate. So eventually the girls came up to our room and we chilled. It was great. But after that, I did go out and I did find the clubs and hot spots. And I went into the clubs. And lo and behold, I ended up meeting people who spoke English and I started talking to them. But what I want you to understand is that it is important that you learn the basic keywords. Then everything else is body language, body language. There was a point where I was going to clubs for weeks at a time, straight every day for months. And what happened and eventually what would happen is your voice will get hoarse because you're trying to talk loud over the music to communicate to the girl. And the next stage of that was I had lost my voice, so I couldn't communicate. And I learned body language, sub communication. And it really worked. It helped. And that's what you're going to need to do. You're going to have to learn body language, which is coming from the reptilian brain back. That's the most primitive aspect of our brain. Because you would be surprised at the right eye movement and the smile will do, because women in general are good at reading sub communication. They're good at reading body language. And if you are communicating correctly with your body, she will follow you. Let me give you an example. This woman was, I think she was Swedish or something. Yeah. Very, very beautiful, blonde, like blonde white hair almost, um, pale, but just very, very beautiful. So when I left the venue and we're walking back to my hotel, all I did was I grabbed her hand, held her hand, and I led her and we walked because I didn't know how to walk back to my place. And that's another thing we'll talk about in another video is when you get to the country, get the lay of the land, know your address of your hotel, know how to walk back there. If you rent a car, know where you parked, because I have gotten into crazy situations where I parked and couldn't find my car and the girl was with me, and there's nothing more horrible than you and her trying to find your car and just spending a half hour looking for the car. You can't remember where you parked it. But anyway, I grabbed her hand. I led her to the hotel, up the stairs, and into my apartment. And it's funny because even though, you know, for example, the girl may not speak English, she'll still try to communicate with you. She'll still try to help you. You know what I mean? And so and some countries they appreciate that. Like in France, they didn't like that I was trying to speak French. I remember one girl was like, "What do you want?" In English, it came out like that because I was like "bonsoir" and I was trying to speak French, and it was really horrible the way I was pronouncing everything. So eventually, I think she got frustrated. Says, "Well, what do you want in English?" I was like, "Oh, you speak English? Oh, okay." Um, so some countries like Colombia, they appreciate you trying and they will help you, and some other countries they don't. You know, that's just the way it is. Where the French are known worldwide for being a bit rude, not rudish, but rude. You know, so you'll understand. You'll get to know the cultures as you go. But no matter what culture you go to, body language works and humor works. Humor works great, except in Germany. Those Germans are very serious. They appreciate humor. They do appreciate it. They're very straight faced and serious. The British have their own type of banter, which some Americans get and some don't. And the banter is very like it's almost like insulting, putting you down, but they don't really mean it on a personal level. That's just again banter. But anyway, I'm going off the subject. So I want you to make friends with rejection. Don't see it as a bad thing. In fact, try now. If you're in the States now, try to write down every difficult approach you can imagine. Let's see. Because I have a book. Where's my book? Here it is. And in my book, I took an audit of all the situations I may have a little apprehension about. It used to be girls on the cell phone. I would like girls on cell phone, girls in line at the supermarket, girls at the DMV, But I made that list of very difficult approaches, girls on the bus, girls running to catch a cab. And I said, I'm going to stop these girls and try to have a conversation with them or get their number really quick as a challenge for myself, you know? And I remember one time in Miami, there was a girl who, because people who could eat outside, and um, I was very new to game, and she was eating outside spaghetti. I remember, and I kind of looked at her and I said hi, and she was rude. She was totally rude. She was like, "Can't you see I'm eating?" And I wish I could go back because I would tell her off because that was straight up rude. Now, when a girl is like that, you need to come back and straighten her out, because if you're just saying hi, there's absolutely no reason for her to be that rude. You know what I mean? So you shouldn't be a wuss. Handle the situation. But we'll get into that on how to handle those difficult women and situations and cock blockers. We'll get into all of that. But for now, again, I want you to not be afraid of rejection. Go for it and remember, you win the prize for at least going for it. You won. You can pat yourself on the back. I remember there was an ice cream place. I forgot the name of it. That was it was on the Upper East Side in New York. They made my favorite. I could put it was like a mango ice cream with strawberries and blueberries. And I said that if I do a difficult approach tonight, then I'm going to treat myself to the ice cream. If I don't do a difficult approach, I don't get that ice cream. And I love that ice cream. I even would cheat and put marshmallows on top, even though I knew it was fattening. So when I did a difficult approach, I went and got that ice cream. And there was one, I'm going to end with this last story. There was this one beautiful blonde girl, kind of taller than me. And she had a girlfriend there. Her girlfriend was really nice. So we were in the venue And I told my friend, because he was winging me, and I said, I want to talk to that girl. She's beautiful. So I eventually ended up talking to her, and things went great, right? But her girlfriend wanted to go into the back uh, to dance. And they had like a little dance floor in the back. And I was a little bit intimidated by that dance floor. So I said, what I said was some of the bravest stuff, and it was accurate because I knew it. I can tell by looking in her eyes. She said that she had to go with a girlfriend. I said, no, stay here. I said, I want you to stay here. Look, I said, look, I know you like me. And she kind of giggled and smiled. And she was like, yeah. But she said I had to go. So she left with a girlfriend into the back dance floor. And because I was so intimidated by that dance floor, I didn't go. Even though this girl even acknowledged the fact that she was feeling me. Do you know how I lost that opportunity? You know, and the one thing I'm gonna say about this that really irks me, these girls are all over Instagram, TikTok, and you see them putting on these nice outfits with their nice booties and breasts and in shape. To me, those are not beautiful women. They're not pretty women. When I went to Europe, I saw women who didn't have makeup, didn't have butt injections or breast implants, and they were beautiful, drop dead gorgeous. If you go to Africa and you look at some of the women there from Ethiopia, they're beautiful. So this this whole thing about them running around, this Build-A-Bear girl, that's not beauty. That's not beauty. Because when they take that makeup off, it's going to be a Frankenstein creation you're going to see. So don't get bedazzled by the makeup and the clothing. Look for true beauty, and also look for true inner beauty in a woman as well. Because if she's kind, if she's willing to communicate with you and talk to you, that says a lot about her. But if you have to jump through hoops and she's playing games, it's not worth it. It's not, I mean, you may want to smash it for one night, but after that, you'll find that she doesn't make a good girlfriend at all. So anyway, I'm going to end it right there. So don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel, please, if you are not already a member of the channel. Oh, thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you. And well, we have Secker Nefer Tara. One of my philosophies is I can only gain from the encounter because I don't lose anything from them saying no. That's right. You don't lose anything from them saying no. You know, again, it's your perspective, you know. And I'm going to tell you why. A lot of times the guys get so hurt about that. That's really coming from something um, in their upbringing. Because what she did was she triggered something that was deep in the recesses of your subconscious mind. All right. So if you're feeling a type of way about that rejection, then you need to start looking and working that out. You know what I mean? And it could be a self-esteem issue. You know, could have been like you never got acceptance from your mother, but you know, you need to investigate that. But the bottom line, you have to understand that it's nothing personal. The girl doesn't know you. You may meet her in a totally different environment and she'd be super cool. You know what I mean? And there's a rule, and I do believe in this rule. It was by a pickup artist by the name of Ozzy. He wrote a fantastic book on game. He says the rule is approach a girl at least 3 times. If you get blown out the first time, approach her again. If you get blown out the second time, approach her one more time. And I tried that and it worked. I was amazed. And sometimes the girl doesn't even remember you because she's talking to so many people, you know, throughout the night. So keep in mind, that there's always an opportunity. And last thing I'm going to say, I know I said that was the last story I was going to tell. What I have ferrets, right? And these little fuckers are the most relentless guys you'll ever see. When I tell them, no, you can't come into my room, or no, you can't go in and ruffle through my cereal box. If I pull them away from the cereal box, they'll only go right back to it and become more determined. I pull them away again, they go back right to the cereal box. I'm like, what is it with you guys? You guys are so determined, because they are great problem solvers. That's what they are. If there's an obstacle in their way, they're looking for a way to get around it so they can get to their objective. If their objective is to get in that cereal box, they will find a way. You saying no means nothing to them. They'll just come, and right in front of you too. You pull them away and say no, they go right back to it. You know, they don't care if you're looking at them. You know, that's what you got to be like. You got to be relentless. And if the girl says no, you got to go back in there later to find a way. You know, if she says, hey, if I said, let's go for coffee, I don't drink coffee. No. Okay. Come back later. Hey, let's go for tea. I don't drink tea. All right. Come back later. Hey, let's go for ice cream. Oh, okay. Ice cream. Yeah. All right. You find a way. The Egyptian deity Herakudi said, he finds a way where there is no way. Now think about that. I want to thank you for tuning in. This is Ra Haru Nu Nefer for World Passport Bros. And guys and girls, get your passports.